for the first time in history, we're risking America's health and security. It's dangerous. So let me close with this. My budget is about investing in America and all of America, including places and people and folks who've been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind or treated like they're invisible. Not anymore. I promise you, I see you. We've got work to do, but we made a lot of progress in the first 2 years. And families across the country are starting to breathe a little easier. But we got further to go. And I can honestly say, I have never been more optimistic about America's future than I am today. I mean that sincerely. As you can tell, I've only been around a few years, like 400. Folks, let me conclude by saying, we just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity, I mean it. Nothing beyond our capacity, if we do it together.
President Joe Biden just finished unveiling his budget proposal for the year 2024. That proposal includes a lot of investment in community, addressing issues that affect young and black communities, that affect women, including investment in early education for children and investment in child tax credit, affordable housing, clean energy. There is also $471 million that towards advanced maternal health and health equity to prevent maternal health mortality. As we know, this is an issue that especially affects black and brown women, especially in America. The budget proposal also includes investment in energy, affordable housing, investment in mental health also. I spoke to some of the people that were present here today before the president delivered his remarks to get a sense of what are some of the issues that are important to them. And they told me there's a group of women here today for regarding gun violence is a top issue for a lot of these people. And it's something that the president also addressed in his budget, investment in community and also in police. There is a group of women here, two women that I also spoke to talk about that, especially women that have to work 2-3 jobs in order to be able to support their family, and that's a big priority for a lot of the women that were here today. They are part of the union, and they also talk about how being part of their union, how they have benefited from that. Listen to what they have to say. Talk to me about these t-shirts that you're wearing. One job should be enough.
We're from a local union called UnitedHere Local 274, and we feel as though a working family should only have to work one job to be able to support themselves. Like some people are working 2-3 jobs, and it's not right. Like cost of everything's going up, but employers aren't paying enough. That's why it's good to get in there and unionize places. Like with Amazon, they're starting to get unionized. Like we back up the union 100% because we feel like everybody gets a fair shot. Everybody gets fair.
You're heard when you're in a union. You're heard when you're not in a union.
Yeah, you're heard. You have a voice.
Yeah.
You have a voice. You have delegates. People. It's like your union's your second family. Like we walk picket lines for other companies. Or in
hotels.
Yeah, we don't.
Stadiums.
It's just one job should be enough.
And especially as women.
Yes.
Because there's another job, full-time job.
Another job. Yes.
As mothers.
In general.
Yeah.
So what are you hoping that the budget that the president will release today, what are you hoping to hear in those budgets that will support you?
I know he's talking about the child tax credit and taxing higher income, so hopefully that happens. So I feel like there shouldn't be a limit on what you can give families. I know that's impossible, but I just hope that what he says is going to help the people of the working class that really are working 2-3 jobs. Because right now, still in Pennsylvania, our minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. I don't know how anyone can live off that.
And the national is $15.
Huh?
I said the national is $15.
Yes.
And even with that, with the inflation, it's still not enough.
Even with 15 is not enough. But I don't know how some people are. That's why they're working 2-3 jobs. One job should be enough. At $7.25, even $10 an hour. It shouldn't be. But that's why the union is great, because everybody gets a fair pay, and it's like everybody across the board gets it.
So, I mean, given that there is so much that is being talked about in the society that impacts women, we have the reproductive rights, we have the mental health issues, we also have, we have the gun violence also that impact women significantly and impact their kids.
The gun violence is one of the biggest issues we have. That's one of the biggest, and there's a very bad opioid epidemic. I live at in Allegheny, and it's the open drug trade.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's like accepted. The cops sit on a corner, and the people sit there. They have a bonfire at a bus stop, shooting up and smoking in front of the cops.
You can't even go to the park. You can't even take your kids out or nothing.
Yeah, Philadelphia is not somewhere to have kids at. If you're raising kids in Philadelphia, you got to worry about them getting shot when they play.
So what is your message to Congress, members of Congress that are against, providing child credit to parents, passing the gun background, universal background check? What is your message to Congress then?
Stronger gun laws for where they're coming from. Stronger background checks on people. But also, it starts a lot from reoccurring felons or reoccurring, they're coming out of prison, they're not being restored in prison. Our prison in the U.S., it's horrible. It don't do nothing but create monsters. It's hard, they treat them like animals, so how do you think it's going to come out? So a lot has to do with what this government's not doing. They're not making anyone a productive member of society from prison. There's nothing in
Even
there.
in schools.
Yeah,
schools are terrible.
Yeah, public schools are terrible.
Every school has asbestos. Every school in North Philly has asbestos.
My thing is, if the kids up in like the outskirts can have clean pipes and no asbestos, why can't the black and brown kids have it as well? Why? I don't understand why. You could go to 2 different schools and you would think that you're in 2 different states. It's just so opposite. You can go up in certain neighborhoods where there's less, urban community, and it's clean. The trash men bring them trash cans. Everything's just neat and orderly. You go into our neighborhoods and it's dirty. And we try, and our community tries to keep it clean. There's a lot of people that care, but they have to help us. We can't do it ourselves.
So can you talk about why you're attending the president's remark today?
Sure. Our Moms Demand Action chapter is attending today because, to support President Biden, because he has been a leader in gun violence prevention for many years, and also because with his unveiling of the budget, the upcoming budget, we're hoping that there will be gun violence prevention in the budget. And we're here in Philly because gun violence is a huge problem in Philadelphia, and we would like to see it addressed. We would like universal background checks to finally be passed. And that pretty much rounds it out. We want to hear that there is going to be money for gun violence prevention, and that we're going to continue working working and adding to the bipartisan Safer Communities bill.
Can you just talk about how you became involved?
I became involved with Moms Demand Action because I had a cousin who was shot in Northern Liberties, Philadelphia, on his front doorstep in a robbery attempt. He survived. He lived for nearly 12 years before he passed away last week. So I learned that even when someone survives a shooting, the effects can be catastrophic and devastating. And they don't just affect the individual who's been shot, they affect the family, the neighbors, the friends, the first responders, the healthcare workers that take care of them, and the judge who hears the case was devastated when she heard the details of our case. After that, I was a Sunday school teacher. I taught 4th grade Sunday school, and during Safety Week, my 4th graders asked me what they're supposed to do if there's a fire in the hall at the same time that there's a bad guy in the building. So at 9 years old, these kids were worried about what's the greater danger, being shot in school or having a fire. So I taught them run, hide, fight, and how to be safe, and then I decided I would put my energy toward gun violence prevention as opposed to Sunday school. And 8 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah. I mean, what is your message to Congress, to the representatives in Congress that are still hesitant and they are not supporting the law regarding more background checks and passing a universal?
Well, my message to Congress is 80+% of Americans want universal background checks. They want a background check on every single gun sale. Pass that. 87% of Americans want it. 75+% of gun owners want it. Pass it. Like that's my message to Congress. We would also like to see, and a lot of survivors, especially survivors of school shootings, would like to see a ban on assault weapons because that worked. When we did it after Reagan, after the attempted assassination of President Reagan, it worked. When it was repealed, the shootings went back up. Fix that. Like that's our message.
One of the things that the President unveiled today in his budget is regarding mental health, and that ties back to the issue of gun violence.
Well, it does tie into the issue of gun violence. Mental health, folks with mental illness are much more likely to be victims of gun violence than they are to be perpetrators of gun violence. So that's the first problem, right? We need to fix that impression. And then secondly, if someone does have severe depression and is sending out those signals that they're thinking of suicide, because, we lose almost 70% or 70 people who die by gun violence a day are suicides. So of the 100 that die a day, 70 of them are usually suicides. So if someone has suicidal ideation and they're sending those messages out, we need the extreme risk protection order to be national, because that way we can step in and do something about that before the suicide takes place. Because a person who attempts suicide by gun is much more likely to be successful than somebody who uses another method. But also, when there's an intervention, they're less likely to try again. So extreme risk protection orders would go a long way in preventing some of the suicides that we have right now.
What have you learned? I mean, how do you educate them? And not only just educate them, how do you provide support that they need at this period? Because as we are seeing more and more of this happening in school and in the public. So what do you tell them to encourage them not to be too much worried about what is going on in our society?
Well, that can be traumatizing both for the child and the adult that's trying to support them, right? Because we know that our are ways to protect someone in the face of a gun or weapon. However, the kids we're teaching know their teachers, they know their administrators, they know that we're going to do everything we can. We do review escape routes and talk like that. It's heartbreaking to have to talk like that to children, but we do that, and we do whatever safety measures are available in the school. I worked at a school that had like locks at the bottom of the door, so you can make sure the door is locked, those kinds of things. So, but also you can reassure the children that while the number of mass shootings we have in America are tragic and horrifying and an outrage, they are the smaller number of shootings. But most of our shootings are domestic violence. So we can reassure folks that the possibility of that is not enormous. But then you have to kind of address what's going on with the kids in your class, because some of those kids are seeing gun violence or domestic violence at home. And then you have to, so we talk about gun safety as well, and safe storage, and how how guns should be stored. So it all fits in together.
Yeah. What do you think of the budget proposal that the president unveiled today?
Say it again.
What do you think of the budget proposal that the president unveiled?
I think it's wonderful. It's great for the working people. It's great for the country. It's, he's the first president. All the presidents back to Roosevelt promised to have infrastructure. He's the first president that ever did it. So that's the indication of what this budget's going to be. I'm anxious to see it happen.
And regarding, there's a lot of, in the budget proposal, he addressed a lot of issues concerning women, concerning gun violence also, and rebuilding the middle class. So,
well, he addressed that by saying he's going to support the police, not only in numbers of new policemen, but education. So people who are psychologists can do their job and policemen can do their job. I think he had that fairly clear. But we can't listen, what he did in the last couple of days with his authority to bring out the bad police for what they did, it's pretty obvious where he stands. But we can't have all the shooting and the killing going on like the city of Philadelphia without having enough police to be able to enforce the law and enough kind of professional people to help the people who need help. That young man who got killed at Temple, that policeman, that's a tragedy. And that's just an indication of what we have to do. They don't have enough police. Temple doesn't. And neither does the city of Philadelphia. So if he's going to help put professional policemen back on the street, I think it'll help the violence. The only thing, I think he's addressing the violence by doing that. And I hope the rest of the people in Washington feel the same way.
President unveiled his budget proposal.
Yes.
And he addressed some of the issues that we talk about regarding gun violence. What do you think overall of his budget proposal?
Overall, I was impressed. He talked about a lot of the things that I'm concerned with. He talked about putting caps on prescription medication. I have family members that are diabetic, so the idea that there's a cap on insulin is wonderful for us. He talked about making home ownership more affordable, which we know improves quality of life. He talked about manufacturing in the United States, which will be wonderful. And he talked about education for police officers and safer communities, which is going to reduce gun violence. So I was pleased.
I think that everything that the president covered in his budget intersects with gun violence, even though he didn't address that specifically. Social justice, raising everybody's economic status, protecting everybody's health, physical health, mental health, affordable health care. We know that they're all factors that play into the gun violence that's in the country right now. So I was pleased. I was very grateful.
Okay.